1 year ago, me and Eliezer were traveling around the world with zero construction experience. Now, we've just finished building the exterior of our very own tiny house, completely from scratch, right here on our 10,000 square meter plot in Portugal. In this video, you'll see the entire journey, from the trailer arriving on site, the hardest challenges we faced, the lessons we've learned along the way, moving that house more than once, and the final reveal we couldn't be prouder of. We'll even share exactly how much it cost to build, so if you've ever dreamt of having your own home, you'll know exactly what to expect. So get comfy, watch in 4K, and let's build this tiny house.
Okay, this is the trailer. Let me present you guys our future tiny house. This trailer comes from the Netherlands. It's from the brand Vlemix, and is 7.2 meters by 2.5. And we bought this trailer from Casa Gaia, which is a company that builds tiny homes here in Portugal. It's a very reliable trailer that helped us to choose the model and also the dimensions and helped us with transport. So huge thanks to them. As you can see by the layout of the trailer, it's custom made for tiny home. Ours has a double wheel axis that supports the weight of the tiny home that can go up to 4 tons and 4 meters high. That depends on the country, but those are not all the details. There are still some tiny details that are very interesting about this trailer. So on this top part of the trailer, you have a few components. This adjusts the wheel, the front wheel, so you adjust the height here on the front. It's very easy and simple to maneuver. Here you have a handbrake, you can put the brake on so the trailer doesn't move. And this you attach to your car when you're moving the trailer, so when you brake a car or when you have lights on, the back lights will also work. And the last part here is the trailer hitch that you can attach to your car, move around. We already put some padlock here so it doesn't get robbed. And the total weight of this trailer is around 680 kilograms. This is a very important part that every trailer for tiny houses has to be, which is this support to level the trailer. This support is positioned in all the 4 corners of the trailer, and obviously we're gonna put some thick concrete slab underneath and level it as much as we can before start the tiny house. And here, this is the final part, which is the wheels. 4 wheels, super important to move around, of course, but the best part when I saw this trailer was this. A lot of trailers for tiny houses, the wheels that get in the way of the framing, the project itself. And these ones are on the same level, which is great. So we'll make our tiny house project more simple.
So, first things first, let's level the trailer.
This initial leveling phase is super important, especially on this terrain, which is far from level. The good thing about this trailer is that everything is adjustable, from the front wheel that moves up and down for the 4 support legs. But after an hour of struggling, we realized we were doing all wrong.
I was just leveling here, and I realized that the wheels here, they're not on the ground, they're off the ground. That's not good. The wheels are the ones that are supposed to level the house. And these ones are more for if you need some adjust here and there, but the house itself cannot be on top of these ones. That's not good. So we have to remove and do all again.
Like I mentioned, the terrain here is really uneven, so we had to move the trailer all the way, dig down about 10 centimeters in the areas where the wheels were sitting too high, and then reposition it.
The trailer is leveled, and most important, the job we did yesterday, the wheels are supporting it, not the other supports that are on the corners. It has to be on the wheels, and it's level. With that done, super important, we're gonna start the next step.
So the trailer's already made from galvanized steel, so it does already have protection. But because we want this trailer to last a bit longer, first we're going to clean the trailer with this solution. It's basically to clean the metal to then be able to put the metal paint on top. So we just bought this standard metal paint from the hardware shop, and we're gonna do 2 coats of this, and this trailer should last a lifetime, hopefully. Okay. Top. I was really expecting to find these type of metal sheets really easy. I thought you could just find them in, so in Portugal we have Leroy Merlin, Brick Depot, but it was actually, we had to go to a certain manufacturer. But we found them. So now we have 0.6 and we're going to put it on top of the trailer to then put the wooden frame, insulate and subfloor. So we're going to fix aluminium sheets to the trailer using this glue. This is like glue everything, kind of really super strong glue. And then on top we've just got these metal screws that we're going to fix on top. So then everything's secure. And then afterwards we're going to overlay. I've got some of this, I was trying to find rubber gasket, but I couldn't find any. So we just found the closest to, which is, this is meant for windows, but we'll also do the same thing when we want to overlay the metal sheets. Because in the middle, we're going to have to cut it. But let's crack on. So now for the overlay of the aluminium, I'm going to put down this rubber gasket thing. It's quite thick, but I couldn't find anything thinner. So it's actually for windows, but doesn't matter, it will do the job. And I'm just going to put that on both sides, and then we can put on the other aluminium sheet. Elias is just in the back getting ready to cut.
This rubber is mainly for protecting the metal sheet because we'll be stacking them on top of each other in some areas. We've been researching how to build this tiny house in 3 ways: watching YouTube videos, asking ChatGPT, and consulting Eda's mom and her partner Bogdan, who are also building a house. It's incredible how much information you can find on the internet.
After 2 hours, it's done. I like it, but it could be better. But no one will see this structure anyway. This is just for protect from anything that comes from underneath. I think we did a good job. Yeah, like I said, we did in around 2 hours. It is cleaning right now because the rain is not hitting the structure directly, but hits a few meters. As the rain hits the floor, it splashes dirt to the trailer. So we're just cleaning before the next step. So now, the next step. For this next step, we did some more detailed planning. We had to draw stuff because we can't do any mistakes. So we want to do a wooden frame exactly on top of the trailer frame. We're going to do on 2x4s, then we put the insulation and then OSB. Looks simple, but let's see, let's have a look.
The wood that got delayed due to our lack of planning are the 4x2s. Here in Portugal, they don't really have those standard measurements for wood, like we do in England or in the USA, which is normally a 4x2. But we found a guy that can cut us our 4x2s, so that's what we're using for all of the build. Since Eliezer had already calculated all the measurements on paper, making these cuts was actually pretty easy. But before placing the wood in position, we wanted to sandwich in a thermal barrier between the 4x2s and the metal sheathing. So for our thermal barrier, we used this thick plastic tarp that we already had laying around. Metal transfers temperatures very easily, and wood expands and contracts depending on temperature. So if the wood comes into direct contact with the metal, it can expand or contract depending on the temperature. By placing this thermal barrier between the wood and the steel sheet, we're preventing it from expanding too much. And that's what I love about this process. These little details make building our own house so much fun, and we're learning so much in the process. Back for day 2, we have already positioned the second frame. So we drilled this one in. We didn't have enough of the right screws to drill in the second frame, but everything's positioned, measured out. It's all ready to go. So we're going to drill this one in, do the other one, the other frame, and then we can add the insulation, the OSB flooring. Jobs are good, and then we'll have a tiny house floor.
Yes.
Let's go. One step I've got to do before lunch is that I'm going to drill a small hole into each of the sections where we're going to have our insulation, because if there is condensation trapped water, there's going to be somewhere for it to go. Anyway, Eliezer was just double screwing the ones in the middle, so that's all secured in. I'm going to do this, and then we're probably going to have some lunch because I'm hungry.
And here for the last ones, for the last screws, I am screwing the frames together because we separated in what, 3 frames, and they need to be together. So I'm putting 4 screws on each side from really making them the same one. And I'm alternating like one here, another here, one here, another there. It's nearly done.
With these last screws, the frame is finished and ready for installation.
Okay, so now I'm going to start putting in our insulation. We've got these 5mm boards, but we're going to do 10mm insulation. So we're going to stack one on top of each other. So I'm going to have to cut these, slot these in, and yeah, let's get a move on. Also, what I have is the foam just to fill the gaps. Normally, people build the floor frame based on the size of the installation so they don't have to cut it. But since we wanted to align the wooden frame exactly with the trailer frame, which is spaced every 56 centimeters, we had to cut our insulation.
Basically, I drilled a hole through the frame all the way to the other side. Then I used this 28mm spade bit to create a recess for the nut. After that, I cut the threaded bolts with the angle grinder, inserted it through both sides and tightened it. The bolt we're using is 12mm, which is strong enough to hold the frame in place. Meanwhile, Ida was fitting the insulation, and the structure was already looking incredibly professional. I'm seriously impressed with us.
Right, work is almost done. Eda is doing the whole installation herself, and I'm doing the bolts. It's looking very professional. Thinking just like half an hour more and we're done. What I'm doing while she's doing the insulation, I'm measuring every 80 centimeters to put more holes for bolts, but these ones are for the walls. When we put the walls, we're gonna add another 5 centimeters and our drill bit won't go through. So I'll make sure I make the hole first, and then when we put the walls, I'll just make another hole here to connect everything. So, almost done.
The floor is looking so good. We've finished the insulation. The only thing that I'm going to do now is just fill in the little gaps that are left with this foam mousse. And then, yeah, and then we can just bolt down the rest of the holes and come back another day to put down to install our OSB boards. So, yeah, I'm really happy with how it's looking. It's looking so good. I like to see the progress. You know, when you start seeing progress, it starts getting more satisfying. So, yeah, I'm getting this done.
And that's it. After applying the foam, this part of the frame and installation is done. Now all that's left is to install the OSB panels and the wall frames. And little by little, it will start looking like a real house.
In the last episode, you saw that I was filling up these gaps with the spray foam. And now it's dry, I'm just going to cut it off with a knife, clean that up, and then we can install our OSB flooring. So then we'll officially have our floor done, ready to put the walls up. So exciting. Okay, I'm gonna crack on.
Meu Deus. Now it's time for some OSB boards. We got some really good ones. The price was really good as well. Not really good, I'm saying the price was really expensive. We'll tell the price in the end of the video, as we always do. This one is 1.9 millimeters, which is really good. We chose this one because it's tongue and groove. It's really hard to find tongue and groove OSB boards here in Portugal.
To fit the OSB, we positioned the panels and then took the measurements. One important thing to remember is to measure twice and cut once. And that's really important because we bought the exact number of OSB panels for this project.
Hey, I am officially on our floor. Look at this. I can dance. I could do some yoga, do some stretching. This is amazing. This is so satisfying.
Yes.
So satisfying to like be on, finally see the floor go down. I think it's the floor going down. So now we're just gonna complete everything. It was way faster. I know it was gonna be fast anyway, but we've also got to get this done before the wood delivery gets here, because we've got the wood delivery, which will be the walls coming up.
First one is done. Let's move on.
New day.
Yesterday was chaotic.
Yeah, but we did manage to get some of our 4x2s. Not all of them, which is kind of annoying. And you have to go back and recut them. But we have them here, stored, dry, ready to make our stud walls.
Yeah, but still got the floor to finish. So let's finish the floor and then we speak about the next steps.
This morning, we were repeating the process of fitting the OSB panels to complete the floor, but sometimes things can get a little stressful.
Realidade em trabalhar no terreno. I invite you for the most satisfying last piece.
Ooh, that is the last piece to the puzzle. Here she is.
We got a really nice floor. Really nice work for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. We passed the last 2 weeks of our time designing, planning, looking, reviewing, double checking where everything is gonna go, buying the windows, door size and everything, and always ready for this moment. We have all the designs. And another important thing, the wood arrived yesterday, but as our access to the land is blocked, because the council is building a road here to access the land, which is really good, we had to carry all the wood by hand, like 400-500 meters. And all right, wood's here, the designs are ready, the sun is shining, it's a hot day. I'm wearing shorts for the first time of the year. Let's start this tiny house.
It really helped that Eliezer had already measured everything perfectly. So once we were on site, all we had to do was cut the wood. We kept our rhythm going, cutting and assembling the rest of the walls, which was honestly such a satisfying job, especially in the sunshine. We started by building the frame of the wall and then checking the diagonals to make sure it was square at all 4 corners. Then we assembled all the pieces that made up the wall, placing studs every 40 centimeters. Wherever there was a door or window, we added triple studs for extra support. Update! We have made some pretty good progress. As you guys can see, the two side walls and the rest that are on the floor. We've still got 3 more walls to finish, but we're getting through it quite quickly, and it's just kind of satisfying, this part, because the amount that you can get done in such a short period of time, it kind of like motivates you, you know? So yeah, Eliezer's just double checking the next wall.
Yeah, it's 4 walls obviously because it's a tiny house, but we divided in 8 sections. So 1 section, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
It's easier to carry, easier to make, easier to carry around, you know, because we have to maneuver it. We only have left 3 more sections, and I think we're done.
We still had a few walls left to build, but the ones we'd already finished were on the way. So now came that super satisfying moment of standing the walls up in place. Not on the trailer just yet, but next to it, which helped us to visualize how everything is coming together.
Here we are.
We're finished. We're not finished.
No.
We still have 2 walls left to do.
Yeah.
But now that we've put up the walls and we can see them, it's kind of weird because you start seeing the space come together. So yeah, we've still got 2 more to whack out, but that's going to be quick. And then yeah, we'll have the walls of the tiny house done.
Yes, and this noise on the background is because it's the last day of the guys cleaning the land. And we're gonna show you the land after it's cleaned.
Yeah, we need to show you a tour. He's just trimming to do the finishing, just to finish the final touches. And then we're ready for summer, we're ready for the next project.
Yes. Before putting the stud walls up, we need to check if the trailer is perfectly leveled, because we need the walls, of course, to be leveled. If the trailer is leveled, the walls are going to be leveled as well.
Leveling is super important. We spent a good amount of time checking if every corner of the trailer was leveled before putting up the walls, but everything turned out perfectly. Now it's time to mark a line 1 centimeter from the edge of the floor to start installing the stud walls.
We're leaving a 1 centimeter gap from the edge because we still need to add our OSB boards. This leaves the perfect gap so everything fits perfectly. Honestly, the chalk line we bought wasn't marking the lines clearly, so in the end we just used a pencil and a level to draw out a straight line.
Now we've penciled in our line, we can now start putting on our stud walls. And this is going to really turn into a house.
These walls were really heavy, and that's why we decided to build them into 8 separate wall sections. First, we would position one on top of the trailer, and then we apply the expanding foam. This works like glue and also helps seal any gaps between the wall and the floor. After we'd level the wall, and while I held it in place, Edda would brace the wall to keep it in the exact position, ready for drilling and nailing, as it has to be perfectly level. It was actually pretty easy, and now we just had to repeat this process 7 more times.
First, stud wall is put up. How was that for you? Easy or hard?
No, it was fast. It's just that we need to make sure that we're leaving the right gap. You know, it's leveled exactly, because these details in the future, putting in the windows, it's going to cause problems. So we are going nice and slow, making sure we're bang on, and then afterwards, putting up the rest will be easy.
Let's go for the rest.
Some of the walls were really heavy. Imagine, the tallest walls were nearly 3 meters high, but we worked slowly and carefully, positioning everything into place.
The left side of our tiny home, it's complete. That's looking really good. It's all leveled. It's very tall. We can see now how taller it is. It's a nice tiny home, nice size. But we have a little problem right here. We didn't want the walls to pass the limit of the trailer. We actually wanted 1 centimeter gap right here on this line, but it's passing by far. It's passing like 2-3 centimeters. And that was my mistake. I thought this trailer was 7 meters 20, but it's actually not. We measure again now. It's 7 meters 18, 19. That's why we had this gap. That's not good, but we're gonna find a solution for that. It's not, we have mistakes. It's expected, and we're gonna make solution for that. And now let's do the rest.
As I mentioned, some of these walls are very heavy. Take the kitchen wall, for example. That was the heaviest one to lift on top of the trailer. We spent quite a while trying to safely get it on top without breaking our toes. And then even more time figuring out how to rotate it into the correct position. But that was our technique, starting with the side walls, then installing the front and back. Positioning the living room wall was a bit more complicated, as it had to fit perfectly in between the other side walls, as it was made with the exact dimensions. But in the end, we managed to get everything into place with no major issues or mistakes. Look at this. We now have all of our stud walls in place, and it's looking great. Now you can get a feel for its real size and the proportions. For a rookie couple doing this for the first time, we're not doing too bad. She's ready. Okay, all the walls are ready, they're up, they haven't been bolted in yet, but we fixed them in place and they're leveled, which is the most important thing. So, look at the space, look at the walls up. Oh my gosh, it feels so weird to be in these 4 walls, or 8 walls. So let me show you. Front door here, lounge window here, then we go along and we have a nice other big window that's going to be like our corridor space, the stairs here. Then we've got the lovely big window for the kitchen, a nice sliding window for me to cook. Then turn around and we'll have the mezzanine. In our bedroom we have our 2 windows, and then finally our window for the bathroom. Guys, it feels so good to be in this space. It feels so unreal. In just one day, we managed to position all of our stud walls. And now we move on to the next step.
Securing the stud walls. To secure our walls, we're using these steel rods and our nylon knots. And basically what we're gonna do is, because these steel rods are 1 meter long, I'm gonna cut to 23 centimeters, which is the distance between this 2x4 here until the bottom of the trailer. And then we're gonna pass the steel rods inside the holes that we already pre-drilled, so we're clever for that. And the easiest part now is put our knots to secure this tight.
We bolted down each stud wall to the trailer every 80 centimeters. It might be a bit too much, but hey, better safe than sorry.
Well, a new day, a new problems. Today, as you can see, this is how we left the tiny house. Not really the best, but we were lucky because it didn't rain that much yesterday. But we're gonna have to take this off and fix it better because tomorrow it's meant to rain like crazy. Anyway, the plan is to take this off, level the walls, bolt everything in, nail everything in, and then we can sort this out later.
Now that all of the walls are all fixed to the trailer, we need to nail all the walls together. But before we do that, we have to check 1,000,000 times that everything is perfectly level. This step is so important, as if it's not exact, there will be big problems later on in the build.
All the walls are leveled and secure. They're all screwed into place. We still didn't use the nail gun because if you want to do some more adjustments, we can unscrew, adjust, and then screw again. And that's more hard to do with the nail gun.
So the last step, securing all of the stud walls together, is by nailing in our top plates. This is just to strengthen even more and connect everything together, giving us the base to start the roof. We place the top plates overlapping the corners so the structure becomes even more stable. And in less than 20 minutes, our walls were up and ready for the next step.
With that done, yes guys, we can say that these walls, the wall frame is done.
Finished.
We can move for the next phase.
We just finished putting on our top plates and now we're ready for the roof. And it's been really great. It's actually been really enjoyable, and this process of seeing the walls go up is really satisfying, really enjoyable. Everything's fixed in, bolted in, nailed in, super strong. We rang my mum and her partner, and he knows everything about construction, Bogdan. And he said that we're over-engineering. It's really well bolted in, everything's really well done. It's better than a tiny house being over-engineered than falling apart, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Exactly. Yes, we're super excited for next week that we're gonna start making the roof, and this is gonna look like even more like a house, and then and then put OSB, and then windows, everything.
Yeah.
Let's start the roof. We've got 3 designs. This one, and this one. No worries, no worries, no worries. You're gonna explain everything. Follow me.
So we have a lot of the offcuts of our 2x4s that we need to use up. So now this is the perfect opportunity. So we're gonna start doing the first support, which is actually gonna be 3 of our 2x4s together, but they're going to be 55 centimeters, because you've got to remember that we've got 2 different types of pitched roofs. But we're going to start on this wall, which is the shorter wall, so where the lounge is going to be. Our roof will have 3 supports, 1 on each side of the tiny house and also 1 in the middle. We decided to use a 16 by 16 beam that we use to separate the space and also works as support for the roof and the walls. The tiny house can't exceed 4 meters in height, including the trailer. So we calculated that the roof will be around 3.9 meters in height at most. The first support was really easy. We screwed 3 wooden balls together vertically, then placed a horizontal beam across the top. And boom, our first support was done. Now the second support, which was our 16 by 16 beam that will go in the center of the tiny house. We had to cut it to the right size using the circular saw first, then we finished with the hand saw.
You really appreciate power tools after using manual tools, because I think like 40, 50 years ago, these ones didn't even exist. Everything was so much slow. Now it's like machines do everything. Well, just saying. Technology, man, it's changing everything these days. Oh, nice one.
This center support needs to look nice because it will be exposed. So we drill 4 holes into the beam and then use these giant screws to attach it to the vertical post that will hold up the roof.
It was a lot of work. We did it all manually because due to our poor planning, we didn't buy the right socket attachment. That would have let us use the impact driver and do this 20 times faster. And it made me think, back in the day, people really did everything manually. Most of the power tools that we use today were only invented in the last 100 years. Anyway, we quickly got our second support in place. The third roof support will be the back wall itself since it's already tall enough. So we started cutting the roof rafters. I made a L-shaped cut at the end of the rafter that will be used for our fascia later on. Installing it was tough too, because it's a big heavy piece. We had to rest it on top of the stud wall before sliding it onto the middle beam and positioning it into the exact position. To prevent it from tipping, we placed temporary wooden braces on the sides. And just like that, half of our ridge beam was in place.
Look at that. That's really good chunk pieces of wood, 16 by 16, 5 by 24. That was a really chunky one. I don't think that was necessary, that one, really heavy. But look, we are really getting inspired by drill build stuff. And I know he made his home, he put this nice piece of chunky wood. And we're doing the same because drill build stuff is the best detailed tiny house builder. We love your drill build stuff. Anyway, okay, we only need now to put the second beam from here all the way over there. And then we need to do the rafters. Attention to the details.
Attention to detail.
We put some overhang piece of beam, 60 centimeters here, because this is the main window that we have, this lounge window. We want to be able to open the window in rainy days and don't get any rain inside the house. So having 60 centimeters overhang, I think that's fine. We're not doing on the other part there of the house because there's no windows there. We don't need to do that in there. But it's really good here. We're going to be able to open the windows on rainy days.
The second ridge beam was the exact same process as the first. We cut out the same L-shaped notch and decided to leave 50 centimeters of overhang. Even though there won't be a window, it just looks good aesthetically. Then we lifted up the beam with one end on the middle support and the other resting on the back wall.
Time to wrap up our tiny house. At first, we had two options. Use plywood sheets or OSB sheets. You guys know plywood's much better. Look at the materials difference. It's much better for acoustics, for durability, everything. But we end up using OSB, and that's a geopolitical choice. The price difference is huge because of the moment we're living now in the world. And I'm gonna explain why while we install the OSB sheets on the tiny house.
Plywood is made from a tree called birch, which grows in very cold places like Russia. Before the current war, Europe imported birch directly from Russia. But with the war, that kind of import isn't possible anymore. Now China is buying birch from Russia and then reselling it to Europe. But shipping from China is much more expensive. It has to come by sea and so on. And that's why this material here in Europe or Portugal got so expensive. 57 euros per sheet would have made our build way too costly. So we went with the OSB instead. Anyway, this was probably the worst day we've had on our land in terms of weather. It just wouldn't stop raining.
Sheathing the tiny house is actually pretty simple. First, we measure the distance on the structure so the OSB boards always end on top of a stud wall. Then just cut a nail into place. Remember that we left a 1 centimeter gap at the edge of the trailer. That's the perfect space for our 12mm board to fit on top and leave everything flush. We started by fixing the panels around the base of the tiny house, then continued until everything was covered. We used a nail to space an 1/8 inch of a gap between each panel, allowing space for swelling or shrinking of the wood. And of course, always overlapping for extra support.
It's time for the last piece. Of course, I know it's not the official last piece, because we're still gonna have to make the part on top there of the wall for the rafters and put another pieces in there. But for the walls that we made, this one is the last piece. After this, we cut the measurements for the windows and we're done. Let's go. Now, the next step is cut the windows. We have no idea how to cut these windows, but we bought the right machine. So this is our reality, guys. This is I don't even know the name of this machine, actually, but we bought this one. Looks like a good one from DeWalt, and some YouTube tutorial to know how to use this, right? Yeah. YouTube University. Let's go. Let's learn how to use it, and let's head on.
While I was working on the window openings, Eliezer was up top finishing the last triangle wall section that connects to the roof. To cut the window openings, it was actually a pretty simple method. I used regular screws, placing one in each corner of the window frame from the inside, then connected the dots using a straight edge to mark the exact outline. After that, I just removed the screws and cut along the line with the circular saw.
Good morning. So we quit using the router because it was very imprecise kind of cuts, not very straight line, and we decided to go with the circular saw and the small details with the hand saw. And look at that, that's actually doing really good. Really precise, straight line everywhere. Yeah, this is the bedroom window, toilet window, kitchen window. We only have 2 more windows left. The second bedroom window and the lounge window, the big one.
Cutting the last window was a huge milestone for the tiny house. 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
Hoppa! Look at our beautiful lounge window, and this is the biggest window, excluding the door, obviously. Now we can really start to get a feel for the light that will be coming in.
Yeah.
And it feels like we did just the right amount of windows.
Not too much, not too little.
Wow, I love it. Good work.
Yes.
Woo.
Now, next step.
Now we're ready for the next stage, which is going to be installing our Tyvek, or our breathable membrane, because it's pretty difficult to find that in Portugal. So we found this one is actually for roofing, but I asked ChatGPT and I asked a few other people and they said that this one is perfectly fine. So that's what we're going to do now. We've got our staple gun ready.
Ready.
And we're going to get this wrapped up so it's waterproof, windproof, weatherproof, releases condensation, all of the good stuff. So yeah, really excited. This is the last time that tiny house is going to be looking like this. Let's go. Next, we wrapped the whole exterior of the tiny house using house wrap, but we did mess up a little bit by applying the house wrap a little crooked. It's important to get it level so everything lines up properly. One thing to remember is to always start from the bottom and layer upwards. That way, water can't get in. Ours ended up a little bit uneven, but it doesn't really matter since it won't be visible. As long as the wood's protected, we're all good.
Now that the house wrap is on, we're focusing on the roof. First, we had to trim the excess house wrap so we could start installing the roof beams.
Time for the roof. I already organized our 2x6, which I think is 2x6, which is our 5x15 centimeters. Really good. I know it's really heavy, but we chose some really good rafters. And for this bird's mouth cut, seriously, we passed some couple days trying to understand the angles and making a lot of mistakes. We didn't record that because that's too much brain work. Yeah, we figured out this is our cut, this is our angle, and we're gonna have 20 centimeters overhanging. And with that done, let's go. Let's do some rafters.
Now comes the most satisfying part. Installation. This was a huge moment for the project. Building a roof with 2 different pitches is already a challenge, so this was a real test to see if we could do it properly. The first part went really smooth. Everything fit perfectly, but when we started checking the other rafters, we had to recalculate the angle again, since it was a different slope.
As you guys can see, we did the half of the roof, and this pitch, this was a 9/12 pitch, so a classic normal pitch, whatever. And obviously, because we've got 2 pitches on this roof, for this part, we cut a bird's mouth for these rafters as well. But because this is going to be our bedroom, the angle on this was 6 degrees. So basically nothing. And what we had to do, we had to go away, do some adjusting. We did have the bird's mouth on this end that's going to sit on the outer part of the tiny house, but it wasn't fitting right and it was leaving a bit of a gap, so we decided to cut that straight and then just do the same as we were doing on this side, screwing everything together through both of the rafters and the ridge beam with that 18 centimeter screws. So yeah, let's crack on and then the roof is going to be done.
Let's show you guys some details of our work. Like I say, this roof has 2 pitches. This one has 6 degrees down, and this one has 31 degrees. And we left an overhang in every single part to protect the walls. You can see the details here on the fascia, for example, because this rafter here is 6 degrees angle, so the fascia has also to be 60 degrees down so the water doesn't accumulate here. And also here on this part has a 10 centimeters overhang to protect the wall from this part. And our second pitch of the roof, which is 31 degrees, has massive overhang of 60 centimeters there on the front and 20 centimeters overhang on the sides. And don't forget of our incredible ridge beam. This, guys, is 10 by 24 ridge beam, massive. It's gonna be looking beautiful, and it's going end to end of our tiny house. This is 8 meters long. You can have a better view from the top. Now you can see that the walls is not exposed on any part of this tiny house. So imagine when it rains, this roof is gonna protect everything. And it's actually gonna be looking very, very nice in the end as well. But yeah, that's it. Everything is done. We are so proud to be able to do this by ourselves. Like I said, everyone that comes here to the land, look at this work and say, what? Who did this? And yeah, me and Neda did this with help of YouTube and Bogdan. Bogdan! With that done, let's go for the next step.
Next step, windows. So these are all of our windows. We chose PVC windows instead of aluminium windows. This is because it has way better thermal properties and it's just better quality, it's more durable. So I really took my time and researched a lot. I checked on so many different websites, aluminium windows, PVC windows. PVC has way better insulation properties than aluminium, and also most of the windows we found in aluminium are only single pane glass instead of double glazed. When I was researching, I was getting quotes for 8,000 to 10,000 euros for 6 windows and 1 door. I thought this was absurd, so I did some more research and I found a website here in Portugal that you can make custom made PVC windows to size, and it's called Brico Web. So I'll link the site that we use in the description below if you guys are interested. And yeah, they're all Auloplast, which is, I think it's a specific German brand, and it's really good quality. We're really happy with the windows. The only thing I'm not happy about is the color, but I'm going to talk about that later on.
Challenge, take this giant OSB up in the tiny house. Okay. Hold.
More.
Yeah.
Okay, one more?
Wait, one more, wait. One more is good?
I just need to tip it. Yeah.
You hold, you have to hold. I'll go there. I'll go.
Oh, wait, Elias, tell me what you're doing.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, you got it, no? Just put it on top of the other there. That's fine.
And to install the OSB boards is just like we did on the walls. I'm using the nail gun with its 5cm nails to secure the boards in place. On the steeper section, I'm screwing these wooden pieces in front to keep the boards from falling so I don't have to hold them while working. Then I just keep screwing the OSB panels in as usual. I started by placing these larger pieces at the edges of the roof and then moved on to the shorter pieces. Installing the OSB panels is actually pretty simple. The hardest part is balancing yourself 4 meters off the ground to do it.
Now it's just this final part and we're pretty much done. And it's actually a really easy job. Not very easy because we're up here, but there is no secret. We live in a little space between the two sheets because they expand, so you need a little space. And also, for example, because this one ends here, this one cannot end on the same place for the structure to have more support. And it's funny because I used to be afraid of heights, but I'm feeling normal here. I think it's because building stuff up and getting used to the heights, I'm not feeling afraid anymore, and that's so cool. Well, this part here is done, and this part here I'm gonna install right now. So let's go.
And with this last piece in place, we finished another stage of our tiny house.
And about this gap, I swear I tried to cover it. I grabbed a tiny piece and hammered it in, but it didn't work. Still, it doesn't really matter because we're still going to add the waterproof membrane and metal sheet on top.
Good morning. This is the moment that we're gonna move the tiny house over to that top. We're gonna move the tiny house because the tiny house is not supposed to be here anyway. Yeah, I was just here because it's next to the container, it's easy to build. Now we're gonna continue the build of the tiny house over to that top. And here will be a space for trucks and deliveries and everything. So it's the time now. Guys, I'm really tense. I don't know if this is gonna go right. Let's go, let's see.
Moving the tiny house is a dedicated process. If this rope pulling breaks, it could roll downhill or tip over, or the structure that we made might not be strong enough and fall apart. Honestly, we were really nervous during this move.
Right, the tiny house is going up. Oop, it's a bit scary because it's obviously, this is a test to see how well we've built this thing. But it's doing pretty well. It's going up the hill, so now as soon as he gets it onto the level bit, it's going to be a lot better.
Yeah, I'm just really afraid because straight line is okay, but once he goes there and he has to go like this.
I don't think that's the problem.
No?
No. Oh God, oh God, oh God. This is painful to watch. This is painful to watch. Eliezer, don't stand so close. Get back.
Olha só, cara. Até que tá indo, né? Nossa, tá bem baixo ali, ó. Nossa. Para! Well, because of that wheel, they're putting up the wheel, so this goes up as well. That's good.
It was intense, but this tiny house is solid. We were afraid it might fall to pieces, but it held up. That's one of the advantages of a tiny house. It's affordable, doesn't require permits, you can build it without much experience, and you can move it. And this place right here is going to be its permanent location here on the land.
Welcome to the new address of the tiny house.
The next step for the tiny house is to install a waterproof membrane on the roof, the same one that we used on the walls. It protects against water, wind, and helps with humidity. It's a simple process. Stretch it across the roof and staple it down. I started with the lower layers first, then I layered the membrane on top so the water can get in. While I was doing that, Ida was painting the windows.
So the spray, how's the spray?
The spray gun didn't work at all. It was super patchy, and now I'm going with a brush. So I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm trying to make it work with what we have, because I did one and now I have to do them all. So yeah. Let's see.
Yeah.
The steep part of the roof was trickier. I couldn't stretch the membrane properly without risking to fall, so I used a ladder and stapled little by little. In the end, well, it worked. Same process, bottom first, then top, covering everything.
Good, guys. The house is watertight. It doesn't matter if it rains now, it's all watertight.
And now there's just a bit left to finish the exterior.
We did a lot of research on how to properly install windows, but because many of our references are from the US, they use materials that aren't always available here in Portugal, so we had to figure out an alternative. To really understand the steps and feel confident in what we were doing, we decided to start by installing the bathroom window, since it's the smallest. That gave us a better idea of the process and we felt way more prepared to tackle the others. But don't worry, we'll explain everything in detail in this video.
It's time now for the windows. But hey, we already did some windows.
This was a test window.
Yes.
As you can see the difference from how we put in the expansive foam, it was ridiculous.
Yes. And that one is much better.
And on this one, we will learn all the things that we shouldn't do to then try on the next one. So the next one's a lot better. But anyway.
But like I said, we did this too yesterday.
Yeah.
That, come on, like doing windows is so hard that we couldn't even film. So now that we did, we learned, and we're gonna show you guys how to do windows on the next window. Window is so hard because it's a hole on your wall, and every type of hole water can get in. So you have to be extremely careful for water to not get in your house through your windows.
Yeah, we're being very specific with all the details and making sure we're putting in every type of barrier protection, waterproofing, so we don't have any problems. So let's show you what we've learned on YouTube, ChatGPT, to how we're going to be installing our windows.
And Bogdan. Bogdan! Let's go.
Like I mentioned before, installing windows is super important to get right. Otherwise, you'll have big problems with water leaking in the future. Step 1 is cutting the membrane to the exact size of the window frame. Since the living room is the biggest window in the tiny house, once it was cut out, the whole space felt transformed from the inside out. Cutting that window, the lounge window, because that's the biggest window, obviously excluding the door, just gives, it's such a nice view. Like, look at that, just imagine having the sofa here, the kitchen here, and just kind of, oh, let's see how the weather's like today. And it's just the most beautiful green view looking over the house that's going to be down there. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it so much. It looks amazing. The second step is applying the flashing tape to protect the wood around the window edges. The ideal tape that everybody uses is flashing tape, but here in Portugal I found it really hard to find. So I had to use the closest thing that I could find in Leroy Merlin. The tape needs to be layered properly to keep the water out. The first piece should stick to the wood and slightly overlap the membrane. Then I cut and folded the tape so it would fit perfectly into the corners. After that, I added another layer of tape over the top. This just means more protection and less chance of any water getting in. One really important thing to do is to press firmly down on the tape so it sticks and adheres to the materials. Once that was done, we added the shims to support the windowsill.
Water is something that you have to be really careful. So we developed this piece. This is the windowsill that we're gonna use. It's a metal sheet. Same metal sheet that I used underneath the tiny house. Was the first piece that we installed in the tiny house. So this goes all the way from here, the back of the window, until the front. And right here on the front, you have this angle going down that if any water goes on the window, rain or whatever, goes down with this angle. I think this will work. And of course, it has to be leveled. Ours is pretty much level, it can be better. But it's super important that it's perfect level, because for our sliding windows, for example, when you slide your window up, if your window is not leveled, the window will close itself or will open by itself. So it has to be perfect level, so when you open the window, it stays there.
Once everything was perfectly level, we screwed the sill into the frame and taped the corners to secure it in. And now we could finally start installing the window. Since we're choosing sliding windows, it was easier to remove the actual windows themselves and just fit the frame first.
Perfect. This is perfect. When we built the walls, we measured each opening and left 1.5 centimeters of extra space to allow for the installation. And now, to hold the window in place, we used shims and wooden spacers, adjusting everything until it was perfectly level. And after that, we screwed the window into position and used expanding foam to fill all the gaps around the frame to keep air and water out. finally, we installed an L-shaped drip cap above the window to direct water away and sealed everything with tape to make it 100% waterproof. The last step was to apply silicone around the edge and put the glass back into place.
So, all the hard work has been done. Everything is ready for the windows. We've closed all the gaps with expanding foam. We've put silicone on the bottom. We've got our aluminium seal. We've done all of the shims. It's screwed into position. It's leveled. It's plumb. All we have to do now is just slot in the actual windows. So, let's get this done. Help me.
The first on top?
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, first on top. Yeah, we lift up. Yeah, that's it.
Guys, we have the biggest window installed. It looks honestly amazing. Looks so good.
It's a good work. Come on, let's be honest. Like we never installed windows in our lives, and it's protected from underneath with this drip edge on top, our seal. Well, it's a really good work.
Now we're going to start finishing the roof, but first we need to cut off some excess, like this corner of the roof. These parts need to be ready to install the rest. Now it's time to lay these pine tongue and groove boards all along the underside of our roof.
While Ada is cutting, I'm going to be installing the tongue and groove. This is where the most detailed part of the build begins. The finishings is what makes the biggest difference. This needs to be perfect so the house looks put together from the outside. So yes, we're going to spend our time focusing on the attention to details so this gets done properly. Now it's time for the wiring, because we're gonna install some focus light outside the tiny house so we can turn on the lights and we see the tiny house in the dark. We're gonna have 6 spots for lights, and we're gonna install this 25 meters of cable all around. To run the cable, we had to drill through the middle of the beam. We first tried using this bit, but it was really hard. Then we switched bits, and the hole went much faster. We drew the rest of the pieces and run the cable. We're planning to install about 6 exterior lights around the tiny house so it can light up from the outside. And it's going to look amazing! Now that the cable is in place, we can close up this part of the roof. And I think it turned out really nice. And now we're gonna focus on finishing the fascia underneath the sides of the tiny house. And yesterday we finished this part, and today we're finishing the sides. But instead of putting one piece of wood all along the way, I don't think that's gonna look nice. We're gonna keep the same orientation of the ones that we did yesterday on this one. So we're gonna cut small pieces instead of the long one because it's gonna look better.
So for that, we're gonna have to nail in another piece of wood so that we can nail the tongue and groove boards underneath here and make it look really professional, really nice. So that's what Elias is doing, and I'm measuring out to make sure the tongue and groove fits flush and nice. Okay, so my job right now is to make our vents. So obviously we have our tongue and groove boards that we're putting up, but every 4 board I need to create an air vent. So basically what I've done is made a grid because I want to make this my template, and then I'm just drilling in the holes with this bit. And then on top of that, I'm gonna have to basically staple down this mosquito net so no bugs, bees or insects can crawl in. But obviously having air vents is super important. So it's quite a tedious job, but I know that it's gonna be really worth it. And everything is in the details. You have to pay attention to the details. So that's basically my job for the rest of the day.
Attention to details!
Like I said, this is the most detailed part of the build, so we're taking our time to focus on all of the small things, like the roof ventilation. All of the fascia needs ventilation to avoid mold and help with airflow. And besides the holes, we also added this mesh cover to keep mosquitoes and insects out.
Yeah, so everything is on the details. So I made these parts on angle, that's 36 degrees. That matches with the same angle there on the roof. Now I'm gonna place them right here. Well, to be honest, after installing it, I thought it looked awful. So I removed the pieces I installed, grabbed new ones, cut them at the angle and reinstalled everything. It might seem fast because of the time lapses, but I spent a few hours just figuring out how to do this right.
Well, it's a lot of detail work. This part is not really that hard. I don't have to use my brain, but it's very repetitive, and that's something that you have to consider. And we did a little mistake. Hopefully just me and Ada can see that, but I'll show you guys. The first part of the fascia is turning a slightly bit to the right. I don't know if you guys can see that. This one is straight, this one is fine, but that one over there is a little bit to the right, and it's just details, only if you really pay attention to that. But yeah, that's it. It's a long time. Let's continue the work.
And with that, we wrapped up day 3 of something we imagined would take 1 day. But that's construction. Now we understand why builders are always behind schedule.
So, Elias is just up on the roof, finishing off the fascia up there. And while he's doing that, I'm going to focus on preparing the door so we can lift that in and install that today, because that's the only thing that's left in the tiny house to be completely like watertight basically. So all the other windows are installed. Now just gonna start doing this so we can get that done. It's Friday today, so I'm ready to relax for the weekend, but I don't want to leave here without the door installed. So yeah, let's crack on. To install the door, it's pretty much the same as the windows, but first I had to cut out this piece of wood using a motor tool and then a handsaw. Once I cut it, I just had to hammer it out. This piece of wood was actually part of the frame when we were putting up the walls, and now we don't need it. Then I added the flashing tape to keep water from leaking in from the underneath and on the sides of the door. Since the door was so heavy, we had to ask Thiago and his uncle to help us out to put it in place.
Right, the door is leveled, it's on the place, and it was easier than we expected as well. And we just need to drill in expanding foam and silicone.
When we bought the door, we thought that we bought the door that opens outwards, but we ordered the wrong one. Now it's installed and it opens inwards. But still, we love this door because it gives us more light coming into the tiny house and is double glazed, so it will help with insulation. And now that's in, the exterior of our tiny house is almost complete. Just a few more finishing touches and we're done.
And just look how beautiful it's turning out. This is the view we had in mind. The stone wall and the tiny house at the entrance of the property. So now when you come in from the front gate, that's the first thing you can see. Once it's done, it's going to look amazing.
Good morning.
We're gonna move the tiny house again.
Guys, this is going to be the actual test if the windows are going to fall out or not. But this is way better than the last time when he moved it.
It's way better. We moved from that to here. So far, so good. I'm just worried about that part.
The decline here, yeah. We're going to be moving the tiny house again because we need to lower and level out the ground. As you can see, the spot where it's sitting is a bit too high, and Thiago is going to use that soil to backfill behind the stone wall.
Okay, he moved the tiny house. Now he's just gonna pass with the digger to level this land here.
Fine.
So we officially passed the test. The tiny house is still intact. We've got all the windows still in place, and it actually went really smoothly. So we're really glad that's over. Now you can see, obviously, Thiago's just going to open up such an insane space for us to be able to have barbecues, seating area. Eliezer's going to put up a hammock in the trees. I honestly believe that this is going to be one of my favourite spots on the land. Eliezer tá tenso. Eliezer tá tenso.
Rapaz, tem uma pedra ali, ó.
Tem uma pedra ali, ó. Meu Deus do céu! Meu Deus do céu! super successful day. We're super happy to see the tiny house in its permanent position. Hopefully we won't have to move it again. We just need to adjust a couple of the levels so it's perfectly level. But hey, welcome to the new tiny house spot. We need to think of a name. We need to think of something, a nice spot, because honestly, like I said before, I feel like this is going to be my favorite spot of the land.
Tinyland.
Tinyland! I love it. That sounds really nice.
Yes.
Welcome to Tinyland.
And we just got the call that the roof materials are arriving tomorrow. So we were waiting for materials for a long time. And we are getting tomorrow. So we're going to continue with the roofing and then cladding, and the exterior is done.
On that note, we're also in the midst of ordering the cladding. So
Yeah.
the cladding, when the cladding's on, the roof's on, this is going to look so good, so
Yes,
complete.
and then it's done, the
Yeah,
exterior.
yeah, the exterior. Still got to do the interior.
Yes.
But yeah, we're really happy. This space now is going to be used so much. That's also going to be another project, is decorating this space and making it feel super cozy. But yeah, we've got a whole, look at this.
So much space.
Look at all this deck space. Deck in the front. We're going to put some chairs and a little fire pit at the back. We've got all this space in front as well for some parking, 2-3 cars. Guys, I'm super happy with the results.
Super good. Let's continue for tomorrow.
Right guys, it's time to start focusing on installing our fascia. What I'm doing right now is cleaning and then painting these aluminium L bars that we're going to use for a cap underneath the fascia to make it look all nice and neat.
We're installing metal roof sheets on our roof. And here in Portugal, it's very easy to find metal roof sheets, but not so easy to find the accessories. Because installing a metal roof is not just buying metal roof sheets and installing them. There's a lot of other steps to be done. So we are having to customize ourselves the other parts. So we bought a lot of these plain sheets and cutting and folding and customizing our own parts to look something like this. So this is like our drip edge plus fascia cap plus everything at once. I'm gonna show you how it's done.
To install a metal roof, the first thing you need to do is to install the drip edge and then the fascia cap. Then you need an overhang of at least 5 centimeters. Then to secure everything in place, you need to use these specific metal roofing screws with a rubber washer to fasten everything down. Then on the edges, you have to install the gable trim. That piece also needs to be modified and finished properly. Lastly, at the top, install another protective layer before adding the ridge cap. That's the basic idea in theory, and a huge thanks to whoever made that animation, because me and Eliezer watched that video about 9,000 times. And then it's time to install the first piece. Installation is pretty simple. Just a few nails and Bob's your uncle. Here's how it looks when it's all done.
While I was working on that, Ada was painting our L-shaped trim pieces that go underneath the fascia for a cleaner finish. The final finish looks something like this. It's a really nice combination of the dark grey aluminium with the wood, and it's well protected from the rain.
So let me just show you guys, this is how it's going to look. We've already done it on this part of the tiny house, and as you can see, it looks so much more clean, tidy, it's really pulled it together and it's fully protected. But on the other side, you can see that that's where I'm installing these L-shaped aluminium pieces first to then go underneath, so then it just kind of goes really flush with the fascia and the wood, and it's like one straight line. So yeah, that's the process that I'm on right now, while Eliezer is inside the tiny house bending all of the fascia pieces, because we couldn't find the ones that we needed, so we're doing it ourselves.
Manual
labor.
To make the trim pieces by hand, I used a blanket on the ground to avoid scratching the material. I removed the protective plastic, measured the piece, and cut it in half. Then I bent one side to 90 degrees using my handbrake and the other side to 180. And after that, I drill holes for the nails. Each piece takes about 15 minutes to make. I spent quite a few hours doing that. It's repetitive work, but hey, a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. Meanwhile, Ada was installing the trim all around the house. This is the finishing phase. It's a lot of work for tiny details, but they make a big difference.
Fucking pizza. Once the trim piece is ready, it's super easy to install. Just set it in place and nail it into the wood. Right now, we're only nailing the top. Later, we're going to buy black nails to match and secure the bottom. These little finishing touches make a huge difference. The colour goes perfectly with the wood. And the best part, our exterior cladding is arriving next week. This time, we really did learn our lesson about ordering our materials in advance. So we ordered our wood 3 weeks early, and we didn't hold back. We invested in some of the best cladding that we could find on the market, coming all the way from Finland. So stay tuned for that.
So while Ida is doing the finishings, the final touches over there, I have to do some unfinished work. These deck pieces here on the fascia, I need to put a little bit more, like 3 or 4 centimeters more, so we put the L pieces and do all the finishings the right way. So let's go.
We were missing about 2 centimeters to install one of the L pieces, so I grabbed some leftover decking boards, cut them to size and install them. We are trying to avoid exposed nails in the finishing part, but in this part I used an exposed nail because we're going to cover it with the L trim anyway. To continue, I cut more 1 to 2 centimeters wood pieces and installed them. For the angled ones, I did a 45-degree cut, trimmed about 3 centimeters and used the nail gun to secure them.
So now everything is pretty much done. There's just one little part, and that's one part that you have to consider when building a tiny house in a land like this. Look at that. So on this back part of our tiny house, we have the land like this. It's pure rock. It's all very solid. You can't dig, you can't do anything. Even the Thiago with the digger couldn't pass through this one. So we're trying to fit a ladder here, but it's all really unlevel that we can't. So now we're trying with the scaffolding, because we need to have access up there to install our last pieces. Well, let's try it. It's very unsafe, and it's not level at all, and if that part falls, that part's not leading to anything. We probably have to try with the ladder again.
The best solution I found was to screw everything in from the top. I screwed 2 pieces of wood on the roof to give me a foothold. Even then, it was such an awkward position, I couldn't even lean too far. I had to hold the trim piece with my foot, balance with the other foot, and hammer with both hands. But I got it done.
So with that done, we can start installing our metal roof. But there is one thing, there's always one thing. So that's the thing. That's our metal roof right there. And it's a metal roof. So when the sun hits that, it makes it so hot. You can even make some scrambled eggs on top of that. So for that heat to not be transferred into our OSB, I know we still have our membrane, our house wrap here, but it still can transfer. So for our heat to not transfer to our OSB and into the house and create like an oven on everything, we're gonna install these bottoms. So every 40 centimeters, we're gonna install a bottom, and that way the metal sheet is not gonna be touching our house wrap.
I installed the buttons every 40 centimeters, and before installing the last one, I lifted the waterproof membrane and added flashing tape underneath it, just in case water ever gets in. Then I nailed down the final piece, and here's how it turned out in the end.
Next day.
Hi guys, we started work bright and early. We're currently just taking off the plastic of our metal roofs so we can start installing them. And yeah, we just wanted to do this early because today it's going to get to 35, 36, and that's really going to heat these up so much. So we're trying to get this done. Little breeze in the air, which is nice to work with, and yeah, it's going to be really productive. I want to get this roof installed. We thought removing the plastic film would take ages, but the heat from the sun actually helped loosen it. The next step was cutting the metal sheets. And for that, we used an angle grinder. Fun scary fact is that we've had this angle grinder for about 6 months and we've been using it wrong the whole time. The disc was mounted incorrectly. We called up our friend Henderson from Fascia and he showed us how to use it properly. These tools are not for messing around, and we have to be really a lot more careful. If you're not paying attention, they can cause some serious injuries. We're just lucky that that didn't happen with us. Half of the roof is already installed. Now comes the hardest part, installing the other side of the pitched roof. This side wasn't too bad. Eliezer could still use the scaffolding while I was on top screwing the sheets in from the other side. But it was the other side that was the trickiest.
Well, guys, this is the hardest part of the day of this metal roof, because there's no place here to put the ladder. It's very unlevel, as you know already. And it has to nail it. She has to hold herself.
I'm holding myself on the ridge. I'm not doing anything too stupid, but I'm holding myself here and then trying to drill in. It's just because it's a really awkward angle, and here is rock, so we can't put the ladder up there, and it's been quite difficult. So at the end of the day, to be honest, the temperature right now is perfect, so
yes.
I prefer cracking on and pushing through,
yes.
trying to get this done instead of waking up and doing it in the scorching heat, because it makes a massive difference. So
we're all bleeding as well because this is so sharp. So look at, oh, I don't want to show this, but I'm bleeding so much because when it hits you, it makes you bleed. So let's crack on, let's go.
Come on, let's get this done, let's go. No, come on. And now the final piece. This one needed a special cut to fit the angle change on the roof. And we're done. Well, almost. We still had to screw it in.
Last one.
And well, that's it. That's another thing about building. The work is never truly done. You just stop when you're too tired and leave the rest for tomorrow. Now we just wanted to sit down and drink an alcohol-free beer.
Today I'm gonna finish our roof, our metal roof, fascia cap, the cap for the roof, everything, and our thermal wood has arrived. We're gonna talk about that later, and we're gonna try to install as much as we can in this video. And this week I'm alone. It is not here. She is in Italy traveling with her friends. Some parts of the roof are still missing, like our fascia caps. This section of the tiny house has a very slight slope, around 6 degrees. So I had to cut the end of each piece to match that angle. To install them, I hammered in a nail, and in the end they looked great. This is the thermal wood. They put this wood in like an oven in a really high temperature, something like 200 degrees Celsius, and that should kill every chemical structure in the wood. And in the end of the process, it still smells like a wood, smells really nice though. It still looks like a wood, but it doesn't have any disadvantages that normal wood has, like humidity, absorption, and some other stuff. It's a really expensive wood. I'm gonna tell the prices in the end of the video. And we bought pieces 2.50 meters. We bought 160 pieces to cover the whole tiny house. Well, I really like this wood. It smells really nice, it looks really nice, and this around the whole tiny house will be looking amazing. So let's go. So to start the installation, I trimmed off the excess of the house wrap at the base and removed the leftover expanding foam we applied under the window when we installed it. You can't install wood cladding directly onto the OSB panels because OSB doesn't provide enough structural support. So first, I screwed in vertical battens directly into the frame of the house every 40 centimeters. Let's go for our first piece of thermal wood, and this piece is in angle. There's a cut here, an angle right there is the first piece that we're gonna do. I took 1 hour for this piece, not for the cutting, but to get confident that yes, I'm starting and there's no way back. Because once I start, if I think something, oh, I should have done this before and I have to do this all again, I will lose a lot of time and I'll lose the piece, the material, and that's not good. So I really took my time thinking and watching videos to see if there's anything else that I should have done, or if the buttons there were right, and testing here and there before saying, okay, I'm 100%, let's go with this. Because it's a really nice and expensive wood that I have, and I'm alone here. It is not here with me. So she's very good at saying, yes, call Bogdan, or do this, do that, let's research more. And yeah, okay, enough talking. Let's do this one. Let's get started. And the first board is super important. Since the boards interlock, they all follow the angle of the first one. So I checked the level like 10 times and made sure everything was perfectly aligned before installing. And then I knew something was not right. And there was something. The buttons that I used for this wall, they are not treated. And you cannot use for exterior siding buttons that are not treated, because once I install my nails from my thermal wood to my buttons, give it like 2 or 3 years and this work will disappear. Because with water and moisture, these buttons will not be able to sustain my thermal wood. So what I have done is, I took my van and went to a wood place and bought some treated buttons. You know when it's treated, when it has some of these green stains on it, and they're all treated, they're all good. I bought like 70 pieces, and this should be enough to cover the whole tiny house. So yeah, there was something off. I knew that. That's why I just installed one thermal wood. Now I'm gonna continue installing all of them. And for these buttons that I already nailed to the tiny house, I'm gonna give it a treat with this wood treatment paint. Give it like 1 or 2 coats, and this should be enough for at least this wall. And all of the walls I'm gonna do with the new buttons I just got. Well, long term, I already had these buttons on the land, so I figured I would just use them. But thank goodness I thought that early, because the rest of the house we use properly treated buttons. I started cutting the first boards, and I tried to be as precise as possible since this will all be visible. I also ordered this thermal wood almost exactly to the length of the tiny house to minimize waste, so I don't really have a lot of pieces to waste. Installation was super easy. I lined up each board and used my finishing nail gun to fix it into the buttons. Once I got the hang of it and gained more confidence, I was able to get it into the flow and work much faster. The trickiest parts were the angled ones. This point in the middle actually turned out really nice. To find the angle, I used 2 pieces of scrap wood. One follows the installed board and the other lines up with the roof angle. Then I trace a line, set my saw to match the angle and cut. That way I don't have to do any math or guesswork. Way easier. And let's finish this wall. And I have a very hard cut now. There will be a piece in angle all the way from the top until this part, but a very small, like 3 centimeters part of that piece will go all the way down until here. Let's go get that. Let's go make that one. For these cuts, I used 3 different tools. I started with the circular saw for the straight cuts, followed up with the miter saw for a small adjustment, and finished off with the jigsaw. And the final fit was perfect. And that was our last board. My boards were 2.5 meters long, so in some areas they weren't long enough, so I had to join them with the smaller pieces. One piece was so thin that it split when I nailed it, so I had to replace with another one. Meanwhile, Eda was having an amazing time there in Sicily. Look how pretty our first wall. The only thing that's left is the reveal. This side
that side and on the top. Let's do that!
This part was actually easy. I just had to measure the space between the window and the cladding. So I just made a cut with the circular saw and then installed the top section first, then the sides. I really like this wood. Any cut I make always turns out looking clean and well finished.
And here we are again. Last week we did this wall, and this week I expect to do the whole house because I'm full of energy and Ada is coming back this week. You just watched me doing this a little part of this wall. These cuts are really easy because they're just straight and they just go one after the other. But the time I spent to do 10 of them is the same time that I spent to do one cut that I'm gonna do right now next to the door, which is much more hard to do.
To make the cuts around doors and windows, I first placed the full board in position. Then I used other pieces of wood to help mark the exact cutting lines. Once marked, I cut it using the circular saw and jigsaw. After that, I slot the cut piece back into place and continue with the rest. With the trickiest cut done, it's time for the straight cuts, which, as I said, are much quicker. I just cut them all the same size and fit them in. For the door area, I cut both the pieces below and above the frame. This is one of the most satisfying jobs we've done so far on the tiny house. It's amazing to see it all come together with the materials that will remain visible long term. And this wood is just stunning. I think we made a perfect choice. I'm working on the final cuts for this wall, and now it's time for the tricky part around the window. Here I had to make a very thin angle cut. It's thin because it needs to fit behind the metal window sill. And it's not so easy. I tried once, but it didn't fit properly, so I widened the cut a little with the jigsaw and tried again. And it worked. That one piece took me around 30 minutes.
Second wall done. For me, it was the second most difficult wall because it has the door and two windows, the kitchen and the toilet window. So it's very complicated to do all the measurements. But with this done, let's go for the third wall, which is the easiest one because there's no windows, no angles, not anything. But first, we have to do the buttons. Let's go. And Ada has arrived.
Guys, I'm back. I was on holiday. I was on a girls' trip in Sicily and it was honestly super relaxing. I had 1 week with the girls, swimming in crystal clear waters, drinking wine, eating seafood. It was very relaxing.
Nice.
And I did feel bad. I was actually thinking of Elias a lot while he was sweating his butt off installing this by himself, but I'm really impressed. Honestly, the fact that he did this by himself, I've come here today for the first time to see how it looks. It looks incredible. The corners, the windows,
the corners are looking.
All the cuts are super straight.
Yes.
I'm really impressed. I'm really proud.
And I'm glad you came back because now you're gonna help me finish this wall here. Let's go.
And then we realized our first major mistake.
So we got our first major mistake of the whole cladding. That is, on this part, guys, we have 3 centimeters more, so we had to cut it like that. On the other part, it looks flush, and I'm gonna show you this now. Jump to the other side. See, our thermal wood begins here and stays flush, and then it goes straight all the way around. Not very straight though, because on the other side we have 3 centimeters more. But it's a little mistake, but for us this matters.
This mistake likely happened because we were aligning the cladding based on a level, but we've moved the tiny house twice and we never really re-leveled it perfectly. So we ended up with a 3 centimeter difference. I know 3 centimeters doesn't sound like much, but visually it can make a real difference. But we have to remember that this is our very first real project. Just 1 year ago, we didn't even know what a miter saw was. The final piece to the puzzle.
Yes, look, that's the last time you're gonna see our
buttons and house wrap.
Well, yeah.
And let's go.
This cladding really brought so much life to the tiny house, and it's going to look even better once we oil it. These are all of the leftover boards. In total, there's about 18 pieces, and we'll still use a lot of them for the window details. And these are all of the offcuts. So in the end, we won't have much waste at all. I absolutely love the way the sunlight hits the wood. It gives the house such a natural look and blends in so nicely with the surrounding landscape. It also pairs so perfectly with a metal roof. Honestly, I'm so happy with how it's looking. And I'm back this week. I'm back for finishing off the rest that is left to complete the exterior. And it really is these small little details that need to be done. The window sills, the framing around the doors and the windows. I need to finish off painting the door. We need to do the gable edge. These pernickety things, you know, that take time, but also bring it all together. So I think we'll be able to do this in the next couple of days and finish off. I'm ready to start building inside and get everything on the roll, you know? I'm really excited to see that process. But first, we need to finish where we left off. So let me show you what he's doing. So as you guys can see, we've got this beautiful thermo wood that we absolutely love, but to break it up a little bit on the design, we're gonna install the same metal sheets on this part of the wall to kind of break it up and give it a bit more texture, and I think it will look good.
It will look amazing. I think only thermo wood will also look good, but we want to be more creative. And putting the metal sheets around, this will look amazing in the end.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will be hard to do.
No, I don't think so. So another thing that Elias is going to be doing is, show them, Elias, I'll put that in there.
Yeah, I'm doing like a box. The same thing I did on the first window, guys. I just put this finishing here with the same thermo wood on the top, on the sides, so it hides this, protects from any water, and gives a nice finishing. I do this, and then we do the roof panels.
Yeah.
Before that, Ida started painting our L-shaped pieces that will go on top of the wooden cladding. First, she cleans them with thinner, and then paints them dark gray. We'll be installing them like this, between the wooden slats and the metal roofing. While Ida was painting, I was cutting wooden pieces to frame our windows. I measured the space between the window and the wooden slat, transferred that measurement to the wood, and cut it with the circular saw. Then, with the piece cut, I make the angle about 20 degrees, and it's ready. I trim off the excess spanny foam around the window, add waterproof tape so no water gets in, and the finished result looks like this, completely done.
While Eliezer was doing that, I started painting the door, which I hadn't finished yet.
Our initial idea would be to this piece, on this angled piece, could have a 90-degree angle, curvature, to then continue on our wall. That wasn't a very good idea, so I cut, and this will be just a triangle with the angle. Let's see. I think I got it right. Oh, so satisfying. This was the hardest part, figure out this angle. Now, only straight cuts from now on. So good. 1 hour for that.
Okay, so we have everything set up. We had to do some edges, some finishing touches on the gable, on the fascia, but this is the piece. This is our first piece, putting it on, and I think we've adjusted it, it's the right size, everything should fit in perfectly. So let's see how it looks. Da-na, da-na. Wow, it looks really good. I love it. I think it's a really nice contrast with the wood. And obviously because it's matching the windows and the doors, it's all the same color, so it's all seamless. It looks clean, it looks modern. But also, what would you guys have chosen for your cladding? Would you have done, some people like white cladding, some people like black, like the burnt cladding. I actually saw that option. I really like that as well. Obviously there's so many different options, but I absolutely am loving this contrast. I think we chose really well. Then we carried on working with our metal panels.
Reality check here, guys. We didn't film this wall. We made this wall, but we didn't film the wall, the process, because it's so stressful to work on these metal sheets again. You cut yourself every time, your fingers. It's really hot, and work with them on the sun makes them really hot as well. And we made this window bad, so we have to redo this window again. Well, we didn't film this wall, but we're gonna film from here on.
These metal panels are pretty easy to measure and cut. Now I'm working on the back of the tiny house, which has a small 5-degree angle. I cut it using my grinder with a metal disc, then install it. Always overlapping one panel over the other. It's a tight fit because I cut them to almost exact size, so there's no excess.
Well, today's work is done. We continue tomorrow, but you know what time it is.
Shower time!
Always good.
It's a new day with my cup of tea and we're ready to work. So we've made a list of the things that need to be done for basically the exterior of the tiny house to be complete. First things first is that we have to complete the metal cladding, which is only this part. We have literally one corner left. Then the second thing that I'm going to focus on is completing the boxes, the trim around the windows, because right now it's looking really messy, but I have an idea for that. The third thing is making corners overlapping the metal sheathing, so obviously no water can come in and it just looks a bit cleaner and neater. The fourth thing then is doing our gable edge. That's something that we've been putting off until all of the cladding is done. The fifth thing is then putting on our the roof cap, the roof ridge, the last piece on top of the roof. And then it's just the small details, adding silicone, adding those little caps on top of the roof as well to make it look more camouflage and all the same color. All these little pinicky things. And then the last thing is going to be treating this wood. Even though it's treated, I think we just want to maybe put on a nice oil, a nice finishing touch to make the tiny house shine. So yeah, with all of that, the list is done. Let's get to work. We've got no time to lose.
We started with the last metal panel. I made a small mistake while cutting, so I made another piece to cover it up, and job's a good end. But the biggest challenge so far was the window. We spent a long time figuring out the best way to finish it.
So look how ugly and unfinished this window is. There's no trim, there's no finishing, but we're gonna change that. Okay, so this is our wooden frame, which is gonna fill the gap on the sides. And then we need to do the last step. And this is what our final window is gonna look like. I think there's a couple small details. We still need to add silicone. I wanna make those little ending boxes where you just fold over the metal and it looks more polished, more finished. But we did the mixture of wood and then obviously matching the color of the metal sheet. So I think it looks good. This is my first time ever doing trim and actually realizing how complicated it would be on a window, but I think like this, we did pretty well.
For the corners, I started by taking measurements, then used our flat metal pieces and cut them with the grinder. With the piece cut, I went back to the cut location to figure out where to make the angle. Then I marked the center and bent it by hand. Once bent, I put it in place, and I think that makes a good corner.
Now that all the windows are installed, I need to run a bead of silicone. Actually, I've already installed this window completely with silicone. It's quite messy, but I tried to do my best with the silicone. It's quite hard, but far away you can't notice it. So I think it's looking really, really seamless, really good. And the most important thing is obviously water can't get in. So the next thing we have to do is I have to silicone the rest of the windows, and what I'm going to do is paint these window sills to match the colour of the window. And yeah, then all the windows are done. And look how good it looks when we paint the metal pieces under the window, matching with the dark grey windows. Obviously each colour has a code, and this grey is RAL 7016. And this colour is actually very commonly used worldwide. Now let's move on to the roof trim. Okay guys, so the next step is our gable edge. So we've been huffing and puffing and trying to figure out the best solution for this. And we found this piece that we've custom made from our metal sheets. These are like the flat ones. So this one we've bent ourselves, and with the factory edge at the bottom, we're gonna put it on like that and probably have about 2 pieces. The other option is this, which is kind of like a test that Eliezer made. It's the same material as the roof, but the thing is, we didn't have complete piece. So this would have been like 6 or 7 pieces, which I think would have looked really messy. But that was also another option. But we're gonna go with this. And now we're gonna show you guys how we are making these. Since we don't even have all the proper tools, we just pressed it down over this piece of wood until it bent to the right angle. Then we bent the last 4 centimeters again at 90 degrees so it matches the roof angle. And just like that, the day was over. It was one of those days that we didn't see so much progress, but that's just sometimes how it goes.
And today is the big day, the day that 2 inexperienced newbies finished building a tiny house. Well, at least the exterior. Installing the metal roof edges was straightforward. Once the pieces were ready, we just put them in place and screwed them in. We also sealed them with silicone so water can't get in. The final result looks amazing. It now really feels finished. On the other side of the house, it was the same process. 1 piece on each side, then 1 in the middle. The only downside was the heat. The metal sheets got extremely hot, but we were determined to finish. Our gable edges are done. Next one off the list.
And that's what they say, when you do a bad job, you have to do it twice. I made a bad job here, I'm gonna have to remove everything and do again.
Here I tried to save materials by stacking several small sheets on top of each other. And it looked awful. Luckily, we had 1 large sheet left over, so I cut it to size. And what was 3 ugly pieces became 1 clean, nice looking piece. Since the filming angle there was so awkward, I just recorded the final result, which looks much better. The final step was the roof ridge cap, which covers the top seam so water can't get in. This part was really satisfying. We were exhausted, but we pushed through, because it was the last thing to finish before finishing the exterior of a tiny house. We can now say that after months since our trailer first arrived, since building the floor, the walls, moving it, installing the windows, installing cladding, we reached this point. The exterior is done! Who would have told that? 2 people with no experience were capable of doing this. We're so proud of ourselves.
So, we have finally got to this point of the exterior of the tiny house being complete. I cannot believe I'm looking at this with Eliezer, a guy that had no experience doing this, and we've got to this point. We said we want to do this in 3 months.
No, 5 months for everything.
Oh, 5 months for everything. It's taken us 5 months to get here. But you know what? Saying that, we have never done this before.
Yes.
And the way that this looks, for me, I cannot be happier. Honestly, I feel so proud of us. I feel like we've grown so much. We've learned so much problem solving. And I just can't wait to sleep in this thing.
Oh, yes. Well, a lot of things are happening next season. This is the end of this season.
Yeah.
We have some different clothes because we just took a shower.
Yeah.
And next season is going to be about the interior. We're going to move the tiny house again. We're going to work a little bit on the container, painting the container.
Got some other projects.
Yeah, got some the main house. We're going to start the main house.
A lot of stuff are happening. This is the end of this season. The tiny house is done. There's just one detail that's gonna make the whole difference, that we're gonna put some oil
We're gonna,
in our Temo wood. That's gonna make it glow.
Yes.
But that's gonna be for the next episode.
Yeah, we can't do everything, you know.
Yes,
but
yes.
We really hope that you've enjoyed this process with us, and you've enjoyed watching the mistakes, watching us grow, watching, you know, us learn on the go, and be able to hopefully show you guys and hopefully be able to show you guys as well. If you wanted to build a tiny house, you can.
Well,
we've, you know, 5 months ago, we didn't even know how to do any of this. So
Yes. Actually, you can, because if we do this, yes, you can do.
so cheesy, but it's true. It's true.
Yes.
5 months of work, countless lessons, and a result far better than we ever imagined. This is just the beginning. Next, we're tackling the interior. So if you like this kind of stuff, subscribe so you don't miss our videos, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe.